Today we're going to cover section 3.4. We'll start with looking at what a percent is, or reviewing what a percent is. It is a ratio, which is a fraction of a number to 100. So you have a number, which is your numerator, and 100, which is your denominator. The symbol for percent is this symbol here. And percents can be rewritten as a number with the percent symbol. It can be written as a fraction or as a decimal. So you need to be able to go in between all three forms of a percent. So for example, if we have 82% and we wanted to write it as a fraction, remember 82% is the ratio of that number to 100. So that number is 82, so that goes in the numerator with 100 in our denominator. The only thing is though is that as a fraction we do have to reduce that, and that becomes 41 over 50. If we wanted to rewrite this as a decimal, we can just do 41 divided by 50. We can also cancel our percent symbol and move it over to the left twice, making our decimal 0.82 or 0.82 as our decimal, which is the same as saying 82 divided by 100 or 41 divided by 50. So let's say we have 3/5. So 3/5 is a fraction. So what we would want to do is we want to go ahead and make that a decimal by doing 3 divided by 5, which is the decimal 0.6. If we want to make it a percent, we're going to go ahead and multiply by 100 or move our decimal 2 places to the right. And when we do that, 0.6 times 100%, notice how we now have our percent symbol, we get 60%. So let's say we have the number 1.55. This is a fraction version of our number, 1.55, or 1 and 55 over 100. So as a decimal, we multiply that by 100% and get our percentage of 155%. And then if we wanted to write that as a fraction, we would put over 100 and reduce that fraction. 155 over 100 reduces to 31 over 20. So now I'm going to talk to you and remind you about what is called the percent equation. And the percent equation is this statement. The percent of the whole amount is equal to the part. So if you're taking a percentage of something, you're taking a part of something. So if you're taking a percent of an entire thing, you're getting the part. So the percent of the whole is equal to the part. So as an equation, we get percent times, because that's of, a whole is equals. So we get this formula, percent times whole amount equals part of the amount. So let's look at an example. Let's say we want to know what percent of 85 is 17. So we know this is times and we know this is equal. So we want to know what percent times 85 equals 17. So if we set up our formula, P, which is our percent, times 85 equals 17. We solve for P by dividing both sides by 85. We want to write that as a percent. Right now it's a fraction. So we'll convert it to a decimal, 0.2, and then to make it a percent, we'll multiply by 100 and add our percent symbol, and we get 20%. So now we know 20% of 85 is 17. Next example, what is 45% of 236? So notice that we need to know what is. So we have is, and then we have that part, the whole part. And we need, or the part, right? We need to solve for the part. And we have 45% of our whole. So we have 45% times 236. So if we were to set up our formula, we would have what, right, which is our part, R equals 45%, which is 0.45, because we have to convert that to a decimal, of times our whole, which is 236. So 0.45 times 236 gives us 106.2, which is our part. So that 45% of 236 is 106.2. Next example, 78 is 130% of what number? So this we have the equals 78, and we need to do 130% times our whole number. So as a formula, we have 1.3, which is our 130%, because we move our decimal over twice and get 1.3, times our whole equals our part, our 78. So now we solve for W, 78 divided by 1.3, and that is equal to 60. Next example, this is example 7. This actually is coming from your textbook, so you can look at your textbook to get a little bit more of a visual of what's going on, but we're trying to figure out 2% of the milk is butterfat. And so we're trying to figure out if the butterfat is 1 gallon, how much milk do we have? So 2% or 0.02 times our milk is equal to 1 gallon of butterfat. So 2% of our whole is equal to 1. So we solve for M, so 1 divided by 0.02, and that is 50, which means that if we have 50 gallons of 2% milk, then that means that we have 1 gallon of butterfat. Next example, let's say we were wanting to look at an election. We wanted to know if Miss Grandy won the election or not. So we need to know what percent of votes did she receive. Well, if she received 31,800 votes, and the total number of voters was 17,490, we need to do the equation, what percent of 31,800 is 17,490? And if it's more than 50%, then she won the election. So what we'll do is we'll set up our formula, P times 31,800, so the percent of the whole amount equals 17,490, which is what she got. So we'll solve for P, and we get 0.55, and multiply that by 100%, and you get 55%, which means that she got 55% of the votes, which means that she did win the election. So that's all for this lesson. Go ahead and try some problems.